Yesterday, the schedule dropped and the Denver Nuggets, yes, they will play 82 games this year. I'm going to tell you why it sucks. Matt's going to tell me why I'm dumb here on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for tuning into today's show where we are going to talk about the NBA schedule. This podcast is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. My name is Ryan Blackburn. I'm a host here at Locked On Nuggets, over at Mile High Sports as well, Pickaxe and Roll podcast. He is Matt Moore at HP Basketball on social, doing Hardwood Paroxysm and the Denver Dig, the Action Network. It's the betting stream as well. You've got so many different things that you've got going on. Matt, you did a lot of work yesterday on schedule analysis, things like that, different takeaways from the NBA schedule. Everybody has their takeaways. Everybody has their reactions. Mine were certainly a little bit more negative on the Nuggets front. But tell me first and foremost why you think this was a reasonable schedule for the Denver Nuggets to have.
I mean, it's reasonable. There's nothing unreasonable about it. It's not like they don't have like 21 back-to-backs. They don't have like 7 more back-to-backs than any other team. Their number, actually, one of the encouraging numbers is, this is actually, because this data isn't readily available. Like, I had to really kind of work with it to get this. One of the things I think that's really interesting is they gave back to the teams that have the most back-to-backs. Those are some of the league leaders when it comes to facing teams on back-to-backs or in bad rest spot situations, which I think is like really fascinating to be like, hey, we know you're going on the road a lot, but we're also going to turn that around and we're going to give you a lot of opportunities for you to be able to get right. So here's a good one. The Nuggets are tied for the second most back-to-backs, or I'm sorry, they're tied for the most back-to-backs. That same number, so they have 16 back-to-backs. They have 16 home games versus opponents who are either on a back-to-back or on a 3rd and 4. Like, you were complaining yesterday about not enough of the doomed, you're going to lose schedule spot. It is the worst spot in the NBA back-to-back spots for the Nuggets at home. But when you throw in the 3 and 4s, which is just as bad, it racks up to 16. So that kind of balances it out a little bit. We talked about how you don't want a dense schedule in January and December. They've got a dense schedule in January and December. They're on the road, in Ryan's opinion, way too much the first 4 months of the year. I don't really care, because I'm like, you're going to play 41 home, you're going to play 41 away. Like, they're going to, like, you're going to have the same number of home and away games. It doesn't really, honestly, the players have talked about this, that they like it when it's like a month where you're mostly gone, because it's like, all right, we're gone. It's the there and back, there and back, there and back. I think it's worse. So from a player perspective, that's better. And then in March, holy God, they finish with almost nothing but home games. Like, they're going to destroy in the month of March going into the playoffs. They're going to be rested and healthy, which I think is what you want for a playoff team. It's not a great schedule. I'm not going to sit here and tell you like, oh yeah, you got one of the softest schedules in the league. Absolutely not. I have other numbers we can get into as far as like how bad it is, but it's not an unreasonable schedule. It's just kind of like, yeah, that's going to be tough up front. But I will also say this, like, you want it tough up front because that's when you're more fresh. You want it to get easier as it goes along. And outside of the 7 of 11 stretch in January, it does.
So one of the things that I had really, like, based off of our conversation that we had earlier this week, one of the things I've been thinking about is flights, is the number of flights that teams are taking, that amount of travel, not just necessarily going back and forth, not being on the road, just how often are you going from somewhere to somewhere else, and just in that general transition period. So Denver, I went through and looked at it all. They're going to take 60 flights across 82 games.
Ooh.
I don't know how that compares to the rest of the NBA. So I'm not going to sit here and say like, okay, that's way worse than other teams. It's way better than other teams. it's worse than it was last year. They played the same number of back-to-backs that they did last year. The NBA keeps talking about wanting to improve the rest, improve the amount of time the teams are going to be on that, like just having the opportunity to get a little bit better from a rest standpoint and not overburdening their players during the 82 games. But I just don't necessarily feel like that was accomplished with this particular schedule. So it's just annoying. That's one of the things that you think about. It's a little bit annoying that Denver, like we talked about, they're going to be on the road basically for like various stretches in those first 3 months for basically that entire time. And I don't like that from a rest standpoint, but also what you want to do early in the season, in my mind, is just bank wins. It doesn't matter how you get it. You just bank as many wins as possible. It gives you as much flexibility later in the year as possible. If you develop injuries, if you've got rest spots, if you've got guys that are dealing with things, I think that Denver is going to be dealing with injuries this year, just based off of the schedule, just based off of like how hard they are going to have to like work on a consistent basis early on in this year. Like I think it's inevitable.
Okay, you're gonna have to explain that to me.
So Denver has I don't think they have that deep of a rotation. They have
do
injuries
occur more on the road than they do at home?
I think that they.
No, not think.
Well, that I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if they occur more on but that's not what I'm talking about. It's more about the like, hey, early on in the season, these like sub 500 teams, they're still trying. Like I used the Brooklyn Nets last year as an example before they traded all of their guys, Dennis Schroeder, Dorian Finney-Smith, guys like that. It's those kinds of games that Denver, like you don't get the benefit of those games in the first 2 months of the season because those teams are actually trying. And so it doesn't matter like if Denver's got an easier schedule a little bit earlier.
Denver, did they lose to the Wizards late in the season last year?
They did. And like, I think a lot of that is because they're waiting for those to be their breaks, but they didn't end up being breaks. Like they were just gassed the entire time.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like Ryan, like some of these teams that you're thinking like all these games are going to be tough and they're going to have to really scrap. You may run into another team that's got worse injury luck and they're just like in the worst situation possible. Everybody's sick. The schedule's too variable to be really counting on how much effort is going to put in. And you also can't really prove that more effort leads to more injuries. Like you don't have any data to back that up. So like, I understand what you're saying, but like, there's no data behind it. We know that like the number of density, we know that leads to fatigue, which leads to injury. Like the December, January stretch, that I think you can really point to and be like, that's a big red circle of they've got all these back-to-backs at the worst point in the season in a very dense schedule moment. But like not early in the season. The early in the season, the other thing here is a lot of the teams that you think are going to be tough are not going to be tough. And a lot of teams that we don't think are going to be tough are going to be tough. So like trying to
timing will definitely impact that throughout the year. And there are going to be teams that go through lulls. There are going to be teams that go through highs. And like that of course is something that you just can't predict at the outset. So me trying to, I think is probably a fool's errand. I just looked at it, man. And I just thought, okay, you know what? I'm not necessarily super comfortable with the 60 game, like the 60 win possibility prediction that I had early on. Like, I just don't think that that's really viable anymore. And Denver's not going to be able to because one of those things that you get into, especially in that kind of October, November, December, January stretch, OKC was a great example of this where they just racked up wins. They didn't lose. They did not there were so many stretches where they went on 10 win streaks, 11 win streaks, and kind of just crooked numbers. I don't think that this schedule is conducive towards Denver actually doing that because you're going to be on the road so much early.
Well, on the other side, you tell me what you think a schedule that would look like as comparison, and we can talk about
that. We could absolutely do that. When we come back, we're going to talk about we'll do some best games to watch as well, some things in that general region. But I'm going to tell Matt why I'm still so negative here on Locked On Nuggets. All right. This podcast, folks, is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people, they can't really name all of their financial investments or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, investments, things like that. When you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally getting control of your money without even touching a spreadsheet. Basically, when I linked Monarch Money to my personal accounts, I found out there's a whole bunch of ways for me to simply review my finances with people in my life that I care about and just making sure that I'm doing the right things, setting budgets, goals, spending activity. I see that all in one place. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNBA. We'll be right back here on Locked On Nuggets. Back at it, Locked On Nuggets. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Matt's got a thing.
I have more numbers to share with you.
Okay, let's hear it.
One thing, you kind of mentioned early in the season, I'm with you on being concerned about December, January, right? Like that stretch is not good. But early in the season, we talked about density, right? It doesn't really matter who you play; it's how dense it is. They have the fewest games of any team in the first 2 weeks, and they are tied for the second fewest before Thanksgiving. So the first month plus is really pretty doable. It's really pretty fine. And if we really get into it, January is the only one where it's just gross. Yeah. Like that one is gross. It is a brutal month. I do not like that. It is absolutely okay to be upset about how January is, but I also think that everybody's going to have that month where it's like, oh, that's awful. Our March is awful. Our February is terrible. Our December is bad. Like you want in February because you get the All-Star break baked in, right?
So last year, January was really bad for Denver as well. They had 17 games in 31 days, I believe. I think that's the same number that they have this year. Either that or 16. The question is whether you actually think that Denver can take advantage and will take advantage of those opportunities early in the season, like when they haven't before. Usually based off of Denver's history, after December 15th is when they really start to find their stride. And January has actually been a great month for them. But unfortunately, so if they are able to take advantage of that January stretch where they've got a bunch of games, then great. But to me, that kind of naturally goes against what they've done well in the past, where you want that stretch to be easy so you can go 14-2, or so you can go 12-5 or whatever it is. I don't necessarily think that it's geared up for that. And if Denver doesn't take advantage of those other times, then the wins are just naturally going to come down.
But they're also very likely to do something like what you're talking about in March. Like they're very likely to just rattle. You really got to look at how soft March is.
Well, I looked at the beginning and wasn't super enthused with it. It's like an early season schedule for them where they are early March schedule. Okay, here's what it is. Minnesota, then a back-to-back at Utah. They could probably win that one. Then they've got the Lakers at home and a New York back-to-back after that. Then they go on the road and face OKC. Then they come home and face Houston and then at San Antonio in a back-to-back. And then they've got at the Lakers. So the first half of that is not an easy schedule, Matt.
So you wanted a lot of home games spread out versus Eastern Conference teams.
No, that will help. That will definitely help them, especially teams like if Philly by that time is struggling with injuries, which they probably will be. If Toronto's out of the picture,
that's what you think is fair, is if you have a spread out home schedule against East teams.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be awesome.
Sure. If they played the teams from China, that would be very good.
It would just be nice if the other side of the schedule that gets 3 or 4 of those games every single year, they definitely benefit from it. Like having 3 or 4 games against Charlotte would be nice. Now, Denver does have that with Utah. They do have that with New Orleans. They do have that with some of these other teams. But you think that Phoenix is going to be good. They were 13th on my initial West rankings. So that's a tough barometer.
Yeah, but Locked On Lakers talked about this, about how they're the Lakers schedule is really tough because everybody in the Western Conference is tough. Yeah. And again, I'll just kind of get back to this. I don't really think that opponent strength matters. And also, I will doubly say this, Ryan, that it doesn't really matter if you're oh, you've got this team and then this team and then this team. It's about, again, density, right?
Yeah.
We know Denver's better than 85 to 90% of the league, right? Like, yes, they're going to face good teams in the Western Conference. They will face fewer teams like Charlotte and Washington. Although, again, Washington beat them last year, and I think Washington will be more competitive this year. And you just don't know what the circumstances are going to be for these games. Like, a lot of teams racked up wins versus the Lakers because the Lakers had a road trip where they were down like 8 guys, including Luka.
Yeah.
So, like, worrying about like, well, even in the good stretch, they're facing all these good teams. Yeah, but some of those teams are going to be hanging on by a thread because they're in the middle of their January stretch. I've said this before that I don't think there's this idea that every schedule is equal, and it's not true. It's not true. Like, Denver has one of the worst schedules in the league. Like, I've looked at the numbers. And like, you're absolutely right on some of these. Where you start to veer into like it's unreasonable or unfair is where I'm like, no,
I think is like again, and I'm not trying to go to that direction. I just think that Nuggets fans can be a little bit disappointed about the way that things came out for them.
But think about how awesome it will be if they come out through January and it's like, oh my God, they're on track for 55, and the easy part of the schedule is coming. They're going to face all these squads at home.
That's true. Again, if they can get through it, that is the other side of the coin, right? And so let's turn this a little bit more positive then. That is the other side of the coin. That is, if Denver does grind out like some of the early stuff and then get through January like you're talking about, and they put themselves into a position where they figured themselves out at least a little bit, then yeah, they will be able to take advantage. I guess last year I was a little bit jaded based off of them not really taking certain aspects seriously, or even when they did, just were not able to capitalize on those things. The question is whether they are a different team or not. And if I believe that they are, then like I should have more faith. So right. I do hear you there.
By the way, for the January, I want to talk about the January stretch because it's. So like there's a counterbalance. You can take the Eeyore side or the happy side on both of these situations, right? Yeah. So in March, I'm like, look at all these home games and look how spread out it is. And Ryan's like, yes, but they face people who can actually play. Yeah. And then in January, it's super dense, and that's really bad. But if you look at this, it's a back-to-back Brooklyn Philly. Okay, go in there, clock Brooklyn. I'm sure the Philly game's on national TV. I'm sure
it's the only Philly game that is on national TV against Denver. So
in that case, like, yeah, go in there. If they are up by 30, pull the plug in the third quarter. It's a back-to-back. It's a schedule loss. That's fine. You've got the Brooklyn end of this for it to be like, all right, it's fine. Yeah. Then the next back-to-back, you got Boston, not that tough this year, right? On the end of that road trip. You come back on 2 days, and then you got Atlanta, Milwaukee. That's a home 2-day stretch. Right. There's a 1 day in between.
Yeah.
Those are both good teams, but they're both winnable. And then we go to 13-14 is a road back-to-back, New Orleans, Dallas. It's a short flight. New Orleans is a dub. Again, if Dallas is on national TV, fine. But that Dallas game is like, all right, we got the first end of it. We got New Orleans on the front end of the back-to-back. 17-18 is Washington, Charlotte at home. That's the one you want there, right? It's a back-to-back, but you get Washington, Charlotte on a home back-to-back.
And there's a couple of days off in like before that even happens. So there is some benefits there, of course. I'm not trying to sit here and say that it's more of what I'm talking about, I guess, is the mechanisms for Denver to be able to put up crooked win totals where I just don't know if they're necessarily going to be able to string together win streaks. And maybe that's not fair. Like maybe they do have to get into that San Antonio Spurs mold where it's just, hey, win 4 games, lose 1, and then repeat. Like that's how you do it.
That's the thing though, is like I even go back to the 2013 team. That's how they did it. It was never like this. They didn't go on these super, like there's a reason like Denver's never had a 10 game winning streak.
Yeah.
But what you want is you want to come out and have it be like, yeah, the Nuggets have won 17 of 20.
Yeah.
Right. And like those opportunities I think are still very much there.
Okay.
I don't think Denver deserves to be punished for the altitude stuff, but I also look at this, Ryan, and when you were upset about that, I was really curious about that home rest. Does the home rest disadvantage thing make you feel a little bit better when I tell you that Denver has 16 games versus an opponent that's either on a back-to-back or the second or on a third and 4?
It is, because like that's 16 out of 40 when you're talking about it. Like so 40% of the games that they play at home are going to be with some sort of home rest advantage. So there's something to be said for that. I don't want to dismiss that in any way, shape, or form.
So I always look at how do you do? What's your schedule like in the beginning of the season to Thanksgiving? Because that's like we're settling in, we're figuring out who we are. We had an injury in training camp. We got to get that guy back, et cetera, et cetera. Denver's got the easiest stretch there, but Denver's got the most games between Thanksgiving and the deadline and the most back-to-backs with 8. Like it is. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not trying to say the schedule is awesome and oh man, it is set up for you. When we talk about 60 wins, though, I do think that so much of 60 wins, that's such a high number anyway.
Sure.
Where it's like, and part of this is just the fudgeability of you. If they're the third best team in net rating, but they win 52 games, I don't care.
Neither do I, for what it's worth.
Yeah. And it's like, look, you definitely need a top 3 seed. So that's important. But, I always continue to wonder, we always think that we know what all these teams look like at the beginning of the season. We didn't think Houston was going to be a 2 seed.
No.
Last year?
No.
I don't think most people thought the Cavs were going to win 60 games, right? So a lot of this is just the variability. This is why I think when I look at, I very rarely look at who your opponent is.
Sure.
Because it's going to be so much different in season than what we think of it right now. And that's like in season is one thing, that particular game night's another, where it's like, oh, Denver's facing Charlotte. Unfortunately, 7 of them have the flu, right?
True. Fair enough. Tell you what, let's take one more break. When we come back, I do want to circle some games. Let's get people excited for various dates that they will have on the calendar. We will be right back here on Locked On Nuggets. All right, final segment, Locked On Nuggets. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Folks, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it.
Let us know in the comments. Give us a grade. Give us a 5-star review for the schedule.
Yeah.
We'll see how many ones we can get on this one, because the comment section agrees with Ryan. The schedule is poop. That is where the comment section has come down.
I want to give you credit. You have made a very compelling case for why Nuggets fans should be talked off the ledge a little bit. I am less on the ledge than I was before. I do want to make that very clear in this particular episode.
Well, it's weird because it's like, it's weird because it's whenever anybody suggests that the altitude back-to-back is unfair, that infuriates me. I'm like, you cannot not give them an appropriate number of back-to-back of opponents on a back-to-back because of the altitude. That is that, like, you can't punish Denver because the city is in higher unless you're a Philadelphia podcast host. Like, you can't do that. Like, that's an absolutely ridiculous kind of statement to say. But I am just like, I am of the opinion that when we look at the schedule, mostly I always think of it in terms of, I would rather have an easy December. I'd rather it be like, hey, they are home for almost the entire month of January, and they've only got 2 back-to-backs. The back end of March is a nightmare. It doesn't matter because you'll have racked up so many wins by then, you're coasting anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're in alignment on that. But the fact that they didn't get that, if they had not gotten the March home heavy schedule, I would actually be more upset for Nuggets fans versus like you, who are more upset about that stretch where they don't have home games. I don't want them. Last year, it felt like they were splattered. They didn't have like substantive home stretches, and I felt like that was damaging to them.
Yeah, we'll see what it feels like. My guess is that it's going to feel, especially for the first 55 games of the season pre-All-Star break, that holy cow, Denver's on the road all the time. And we'll see whether they can take advantage of that or just survive that or not. If they can, then you are right that they'll be able to take advantage at the end. My final point on that, I just think that Denver and teams should be in the business of trying to take advantage of their stuff before game 75 of the season. And then if you have to think about that final stretch, those games in April, then you're already kind of up a creek from a rest standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint. You don't want to you want to have done your work before then. I don't necessarily think that this is going to be conducive for Denver doing that, but we'll see.
4 of their 17 games in January are against Brooklyn and Charlotte.
Well, hey, you never know what Michael Porter's going to do, man. You never know what Michael Porter's
don't know what he's going to do when he's on a podcast. Good
God. I know. It's
God. Mike,
Just
man, please
Lock-
stop talking.
lock yourself in the gym, dude. Like, please, for the love of God. It has been pretty bad. Okay. So let's get into specific matchups. I've got a couple that I want to go over, but tell me first if there's anything that stands out to you in terms of this is a game that I'm going to be really excited to attend and or watch.
I haven't really gotten into that because every night is a joy just to be around you at the arena.
That's not true.
And I really do love sitting next to Ryan. And with Vinny in between us is the best part of it. You want to know the game I'm most interested in, Ryan?
Sure.
February 4th. They have a Detroit Knicks back-to-back set on the road. It's a road back-to-back.
I have a quick follow-up question for you there because there are several games on ESPN that are on the second night of a back-to-back, and I thought that the NBA was going to try to do away with some of those premier matchups on back-to-back, but Denver's got several.
Yeah, I know.
So it's going to look and feel bad to the public, but Denver's going to be like pretty good most of the time other than that. So, but ESPN, you already know Mark Jones is going to be like, he is going to be disappointed with the way that Denver plays.
Well, I'll also so negative. I'll also say this. Do you want to know if I'm ESPN, I want the Nuggets on. If they're like, look, some of our teams are going to be on back-to-backs, I would be like, give me Denver. Joker always plays. I want Joker.
That's fair.
I don't want the Sixers with 16 back-to-backs, the same as number as Denver. Give me Denver because I know Joker's going to be available and he's going to play.
Russell Westbrook won't be playing though. So he was one of the key factors, I think, in why Denver was so good on the second night of back-to-backs, just because he brought the same kind of energy every single night.
I mean, I will say in the Joker era, if you want to move past Malone, they've always been historically really good on back-to-backs. They've been one of the better teams in the league in those kind of situations.
Okay.
So, that's maybe like a comforting thing. I mean, look, that's the other way to look at this from the January perspective. Joker thrives when it gets hard, man. He loves it when you're like, yeah, this is really challenging. That's when he's like, all right, let's go. Fine. It's when it's boring and easy that he's like, all right, whatever.
That's true. That's definitely true. The Nuggets should tie both of his hands behind his back and tell him to play basketball for 82 games, and then he would put on a very impressive performance.
So what's the game you're excited about?
Honestly, that's what last year was. So,
yeah.
Denver had there's Peacock, there's Prime, there's a couple like NBC. There are some new broadcast partners that are going for a variety of different new games now. One thing I found very interesting. So Denver doesn't play OKC until February 1st. They have like all of the different platforms have claimed OKC Denver matchups in that latter part of the season. I thought that was very interesting. ESPN got a game, NBC got a game. I think Peacock got a game, and I think Prime got a game. It does seem like Denver is a valuable commodity, especially when it's against OKC.
Yeah, I mean, look, they face them on Sunday on a home game on Sunday. Like that's
Sunday night though. That's the prime time.
Yeah. So like that's like the marquee matchup there. And it makes sense because that was such a terrific series last year. They've got a Monday game. I assume that one's on Peacock. They've got a Saturday night game in March during the home stretch, but that one is that's the Lakers. But they do have all these kind of matchups. They also play them in the second to last game of the season, which I think is.
I hope that one doesn't matter, man.
Yeah.
If it does, that's a problem.
Well, I mean, but here's the thing, Ryan. Is it? If that one matters, doesn't that mean that Denver's within range of OKC, so they've got incentive they can catch them?
I don't know. It's very possible that Denver at that point is trying to fight between like a 3 seed or a 4 seed and trying to get out of the same side of the bracket.
But if OKC's got to play their guys, they've got to be within range.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. But yeah. You know what? Screw it. Like I hope all of the OKC Denver games are great. Like that should be the matchup.
They were great last year. Yeah.
That should be the marquee matchup in the NBA this season.
Closing with San Antonio does not thrill me after the bad history from 2024. But
yeah.
Devontae Graham's also overseas. That's the good news.
And Sandro Mamukelashvili's in Milwaukee, I'm pretty sure. So we're good there.
Toronto. He went to Toronto.
Oh, he's in Toronto. My mistake. Other underperforming team. I'm just kidding. So Denver's got the Christmas game, of course, against Minnesota. That is one of the premier matchups for them. I rank the 10 best games on the schedule. That was the one that I put number one. I think that's going to be an epic one between those two teams. I think that the first OKC matchup, February 1st, was the one that I put second overall on the schedule. And then the Lakers game, March 14th on ABC on Saturday night, was the one that Saturday night, March 14th, was the one I put third. So those are the three that I would circle as the most premier matchups. But who knows? Like that mid-March stretch is a gauntlet.
So they've gotten killed in Cleveland and New York the last two seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Those are games I really care about because OKC is like a matchup thing. Like OKC is really good. Denver matches up with them. Like we saw the playoff series. Like I know that one. New York should not be definitively better than them by the degree that which New York has been better. And it hasn't been just on the road. Like they've been better than them at home too. And that to me is like with both Cleveland and New York, Denver needs to not get killed in one of those games on the road.
I just want to let you know, by the way, that that Cleveland game is January 2nd at Cleveland. Before that, they play on the 31st of December at Toronto. They will be partying in Toronto that night. That is absolutely happening. And then we'll see what their response is on January 2nd.
Yeah, they'll be fine. They got 48 hours for IVs, Ryan. They'll be fine. It's the back-to-back. That's the trouble.
I do not have as much faith, but that's fine.
Shocker. Houston, they're at Houston, home Sacramento for a back-to-back in November. That one to me is kind of interesting.
Yeah,
it's a interesting two-game set because
the first one is the in-season or NBA Cup tournament, so that one will matter to the NBA. It's on Prime, and then they could let go of the rope on that Sacramento game, depending on how the Houston game goes.
Yeah, overall, I think the way that I don't see a lot of stretches where it's like a brutal, even though I talked about how I don't really care about the opponent's strength. I don't see a lot of stretches where it's like, oh my God, it's just like one great team after another. Marches back-to-back Lakers, Knicks, and then they get 2 days off and then they're at home they get 2 days off before that Thunder matchup on March 9th. That to me is significant that they get a full 2 days off before the game in OKC. So that one, I think that helps. I'm glad to see that happen.
Yeah.
The Houston San Antonio back-to-back, they've got 3 and 4. They've got 4 and 5 here with OKC, Houston, San Antonio, and the Lakers. That stretch in March does project as pretty tough, especially with the Lakers game being a road game. It's a road game after the San Antonio back-to-back set. But in general, then it eases up again with Philly, Toronto, Portland, Phoenix, Dallas, Utah, Golden State to end the month. That's not bad at all.
All right, give me a number before we get out of here. How many wins are the Nuggets going to have?
Oh, I haven't gotten there yet, man. That takes me a lot of time.
Just your quick survey opinion.
I will tell you that the schedule would only have me drop them by like 1.5 wins.
Okay.
It's not going to be.
I dropped them 6 wins. I'm just kidding.
I mean, I would not be surprised given how you've talked about it. I have them right now currently projected at 54.9.
That I was at 54 to 55. I couldn't decide between the two. The windows to getting 60, I think, are less viable, but they were positive. Like they're still possible. I'm not gonna say that they aren't, but like I do think that 55 wins is the most likely number. So you're right on the dot there with me.
I think it's you being like, I'm just really disappointed. They're probably not going to win 60 games.
But that's
happy. They're going to win 55 games.
Okay. Yeah. And you're right. And here's the thing, like, does that change what I think of them from a playoff caliber perspective? Yeah. No, like they're still a bear to play in the playoffs because Jokic is on this team and like they've got a whole bunch of playoff contributors. They're a little bit well geared, like better geared than they were last year for sure. Like I think that they can win the title even if they win 54 or 55 games. Yeah. That's not the question.
Yeah. So it's,
but I want to see them kick ass.
And here's the other thing. If there's here, I will tell you this, Ryan, if they are as good as we have thought they were, and as good as DNVR thinks they are, then the schedule isn't going to move them that much. Their floor is just way higher.
That's true. That's true. There are a lot of fun games, a lot of exciting moments for the Nuggets in this upcoming season. Let us know in the comments who you want to see Denver match up with the most. What are you most excited about? And like Matt said, give a grade for the schedule, 1 to 5. Like, which ones are you thinking? Like, what do you think Denver's going to get? Very excited to get this season up and go, and it should be very interesting to see what they ultimately do, Matt. I'm very excited.
Yes. Levi says, to Ryan's point, it would be nice if the Nuggets had a championship caliber regular season just once in Jokic's whole career. They won 57 games 2 years ago. That's a really high number.
It is a very high number, and it didn't really get them anything in the end. So like there is something to be said for just being ready for the playoffs. So we'll see what happens, but everybody, thank you so much for tuning into today's show. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. We will talk to you guys next week.